Mayor and Alderman meeting work session for February 3rd, 2022. Chief Howell had to step out for an emergency, so he may be back, he may not. I'm going to ask Alderman Small to say an opening prayer, and we'll start our agenda for today.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for allowing us to be in this meeting this morning, Lord, and we ask that you come before us and be in front as we guide the city through the situations that we have to come in contact with. Ask you, Lord, to go before everyone that's working for the city this morning, be with them as they carry out the duties, and we thank you for the food that's provided this morning. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. We'll start with a review of the 1/06/2022 work session minutes. Anybody have any corrections, deletions, additions? We'll enter those in the record. Next is review of the 1/27/2022 special called work session minutes. Thank you there.
I didn't see anything.
Not well to that. We have first under requested reports and action requests, we have Patrick Linton from Croy Engineering, who's going to come and update us on current projects. Good morning.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
Okay, so we have I'll start with the Norris Street drainage project. That construction is going well. They've made their way all the way from Norris Creek all the way up to Mulberry Avenue. We do have 2 change orders we've encountered due to waterline conflicts and some rock that they found. I think those have been submitted to the city for review and approval. That project is going well. They're about to cross over into Mulberry Avenue. TDOT already has permits for that and approvals. We going to talk about Camp Blunt at all, or is it just?
Yeah, we will, but
okay.
On the, do you have an overall percentage complete at the moment?
I don't have an overall percent. Well, I would say they have yet to submit any pay requests. This is all just change orders that they haven't. I would say it's 10-15%. This is all, they've laid pipe, but they don't have obviously any pavement done yet. So we don't want to call that fully completed, but they do have all the materials on site, but they don't have any pavement done yet.
Have they foreseen any other issues? I mean, we have some contingency funding
yes,
for
sir.
the things you just mentioned, and we still have plenty in there. But is there anything that you know of that's just kind of come up that may cause concern?
We've done the best we can to identify any conflicts. We've run cameras through the pipes. There's lots of underground infrastructure that's not marked, and so the contingency money is to hopefully address any of those unforeseen issues. The change order for any kind of rock or changes to the design they need to make with the conflict box or any obstacles, that along with any FPU charges, I'm considering those as part of that contingency to cover those items. I assume this is for the overall project. We got to make sure we track all that. And I did send Mr. Howell and Stacy an update on where that is. Based on what I'm looking at, I think we're fine. I mean, there's not going to be any changes to the pavement or sidewalks. I think that's all covered in the plans. If this money is used for any kind of underground unforeseen issues, I think we're fine. It's just, you don't really know what you're going to run into when you start digging. But we've done a pretty as good job as you can without physically potholing every utility to locate the elevation of them. We're using assumed elevations, and we've designed this thing to go underneath all the conflicts. But we're adjusting as we go.
Any other questions anybody has about Norris Street? Okay. We briefly mentioned in finance the other day about, I think, what you're going to discuss at Camp Blunt.
Yes, sir.
We did not make any recommendation coming out of it because
sure.
But if you want to discuss it, I mean, about, they want the Camp Blunt Association wants to have a drainage pipe.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. About a year and a half ago, or maybe 2 years ago, when we were doing phase 1, I was working closely with Tom Bailey, and he had in his He was working on a design to take stormwater from behind the, I guess, River Oaks development, and I think that stormwater, when it leaves that development out of the detention pond, it goes and floods what is known as the living history area. And there's kind of a low spot back there, and I think Tom Bailey's design was going to divert that stormwater from the back of that development straight to I believe the Elk River, going fall along the TVA easement there. He didn't get a full design for that. He has some preliminary design, not for construction, but we've been asked to kind of pick up where he left off to move forward with that. I was approached by, I believe, Eddie Hall and Randy Delap to help try to push that through and what it would take to do a simple design, based off, using his concept and going through with hydraulic design, and did something that we can do, hopefully not have to bid, maybe possibly for city forces to do, and that's what the proposal represents. In addition to that design for the stormwater, they wanted me to put together a proposal for revising the Camp Blunt rendering, showing the full site. That we've done renderings before for just phase 1 and phase 2. This would show the Greer cabin and some of the other areas kind of overall. So updating that, showing what's existing and what's also proposed, so that can go after, I guess, more funding.
So I spoke with Randy Delap yesterday, going back to this, what came in front of finance the other day. He mentioned because of the Greer cabin, of what they want to reconstruct it, to divert the water, they need to get some trucks and stuff back there.
Correct.
And if they could divert this, then it would, could get some solid ground. It wouldn't be marshy, I guess, or the equipment could sink or something like that.
Yeah, part of this design would be showing a culvert design, something they can drive over with trucks, and you want to make sure it's, I'm going to recommend concrete pipe as opposed to corrugated metal, so it doesn't crush under the heavy weight if they're carrying materials and so forth back there.
So where we're at on this, it's really not, it's not sitting on Croy, but what we talk about finance is what's going to be the funding mechanism after you do a design study. And so, we have to do some further discussions with Camp Blunt on what funding mechanisms on that would actually pay for that. So
understood.
That's where we're kind of at the moment.
Sure.
Unless the board wants to do something different, we're not taking action on it this month.
I understand.
But we do have your proposal still in front of us.
Yes, sir.
Any questions on that?
I do, Mayor, I know we talked, or you guys talked about in finance about having somebody on their committee. Did Randy mention anything, Randy Delap mention anything about that when you spoke to him?
Yes, yeah. I'm going to speak with him first, and then, we're going to be more apart. I said that since our last administrator left, who was part of all those meetings, we haven't really had representation, that we should always have somebody from the board or the administrator in those meetings, and he agreed. So yes, we will.
Yeah, I agree. That certainly helped, and those sort of fell off sometime, in the past, but those would certainly help to keep everybody updated on what's going on.
That's understandable, because you just need to know what's being planned, and city needs to be part of that plan,
So it sounds like
or abreast of that plan.
what you just mentioned is they would like Croy to do maybe an overall plan.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And that proposal that I presented included just doing a simple design and updating that rendering.
Oh, so that would be part of that, not
Yes, sir.
just the design?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That was two kind of proposals combined into one.
Okay, all right. Any other questions, Mr. Linton? Yeah, that's the main update.
Yeah, that's the main update. I mean, I know we've got other projects. I mean, do you want to talk about the sidewalks?
You can give an update as far as, Chief Howell informed me that your company got hit hard with COVID recently.
We
that slowed down your kind of design?
Yeah, we've got the survey completed, and we're just, I guess we'll be waiting for the city on whether they want to proceed with design.
We talked about it the last public meeting you had, we mentioned at another public meeting to come back with I take it that's the input that all the people had?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we were going to have a meeting. Hope we were going to try to do it later in January. That's slow. It's going to push into February, but it's my understanding the city may have plans to change the schedule on that, or possibly. I got informed by Mr. Howell last week that the city was possibly going to delay?
We're not delaying the project, we're trying to find the right, the main thing I was expressing to Chief Howell is, we're not under a timeline
Sure.
of a grant or something, so we want to make sure we get this right. We want to make sure we have all the input from the public, and everybody's on the same page.
Correct.
So, I didn't mean to misinterpret to Chief Howell that we were slowing it down or stopping anything. I'm just saying, we just want to get everything right.
I got you, okay.
On this, so we can have a meeting in February, have it in March, whatever.
Okay.
Did you get a lot of input from the public on the first?
Not very
meeting?
much. I believe we only got about 8. We got very little responses in writing back from that meeting, but we processed those and were incorporated into the concept. And now that I understand now that the city is not wishing to slow the project down or halt it for any reason, we'll go ahead and set up that meeting. The survey is completed, so I'll let Brad know that we're still on, and we will try to go ahead and forecast the next public meeting to show the concepts and share that with the public.
Any questions on that?
How do you plan on doing it? Just having a couple of different concepts for people just to...
Yes, sir.
be able to
Yes,
take
sir.
a
Just
look?
representatives based off of, budget funding and what you can afford to do, as well as the comments we've received from the public and on the city, to make sure we're incorporating all that.
Gotcha.
Sure. Okay.
I think people are really excited about it because it's, becoming spring and they're looking for this to start happening, so I think.
It'll be very nice. We just got to make sure we we communicate with them and what the expectations are as phasing, what they'll be looking at as far as any disturbance in front of their buildings and so forth. So you get that concept out there and establishing that on what it's going to look like, and the next thing is how to implement that.
Any other questions, Mr. Lee? Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Next time we have Greenway Phase 2 project discussion. We have Kelvin McAllister and Laura Lee Page. Ms. Page, come up first.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So last time I was here, it was November 4th, and I, along the way, the past couple of years, I've given you guys spreadsheets kind of summarizing the budget and how things have progressed because one, this has been a long project and costs change, and two, so that you have a full picture of the project cost. So towards, after I spoke to you guys last, we did receive comments from TDOT. I'm sorry, this is ringing. We did receive comments from TDOT that Kevin and his team will have to address, but they were also able to get an updated bridge cost estimate or quote, and so we updated that in November, towards the end of November. And at that meeting in November, we talked about asking TDOT to move funds from Phase 3 to Phase 2 construction. And it took us a while to get TDOT to respond. They thought they had responded and had not. And so they have agreed to allow us to do that because this project is important to them, and completing it is something that they do want to see. So I have updated the budget to show what that would look like. So you have two different, I don't know which one you find most helpful, so I provided both. One is kind of shorter, one is more detailed, but shows what the budget looks like now that construction phase costs would be at the 80-20 rate, and assuming that once TDOT gives us an amendment, what your total grant amount would be. And so there is a note there that says the total from Phase 2 and Phase 3 together actually exceeds what the 80-20 would be on the cost estimates that we are working off of right now. So essentially that leaves you with $60,000 a contingency, but I did outline all of that for you guys. And so What happens next is we've kind of been on hold because there's some additional work that needs to be done to address TDOT's comments, and we need the board to authorize that to move forward. The other thing that's holding us up right now is now that TDOT has agreed to do a contract amendment to move the funds, we actually also need a time extension on our contract. And so we did not want to move forward, or the city did not want to move forward without bringing that to you guys first. And so the idea would be to do all of that in one amendment. So those are kind of the updates. Kevin's here to talk about the engineering fees that I believe y'all are aware of already, but and that are already figured into this budget as well. And then I'll come back and kind of sum it up, and we'll do our next steps, and you can ask questions.
Can I ask you?
Yeah, you can. Yeah.
We'll do the questions later. Do the questions later.
You can question.
Take a question now.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the spreadsheet here on, I guess this is the most simplified one. And as I look down through here, this is the cost estimate. I'm seeing everything that you're talking about. Where I'm getting is to the bottom line, additional local funds. So is what this spreadsheet is telling us is the additional local funds, if everything went like we think it might go, if it does, so the additional local funds still needed to complete this project, is that the $368,621? Is that what we're looking at?
No. So that additional local funds, that is just taking the current local funds, so the 806, less the original local funds that were originally projected. So that would be the column on this page that shows October of 16, what you originally thought your match was going to be. You've actually already paid the majority of that 300.
Well, what I'm looking for is, we know we've paid a lot already.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm looking for, or what I'm wanting is an estimate on the bottom line dollar if we proceed with this. Now, I guess I'm talking about engineering fees, design fees, and everything. Bottom line dollar. How much more will the city need to come up with if all of these figures holds true, these estimates hold true, and the bid holds true? How many more dollars does the city need to come up with on our side to complete this project?
It would be 20% of the construction contingency, and construction phase professional fees. And then the engineering fees that are since 2019, as well as the ones that we need in order to move forward.
Is there an estimate on the bottom line? Is there an estimate been put forward based on all these numbers on the bottom line number figure? Because we're, as a board, what I'm going to be looking at, I speak for myself here, I'm going to be looking at how much more we're going to have to come up with out of fund balance that we've not already paid. What is the bottom line projection that we need to come with with as a total in order to proceed with this project?
Okay. While Kevin is speaking, I will calculate that, but I'll tell you right now, it's the 806 that's on this page minus the 294, 152, 53 that you've already paid.
Can you come back with a number of what time?
Yes, like I said, I'll calculate it while Kevin's speaking.
Because I could sit here and look at 20% and 20% and all these numbers on here all day long and still don't know what I'm doing.
I understand. So I will give you that after
Okay.
Kevin speaks.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
So my portion of the update is to discuss the additional engineering fees requested. So we submitted a proposal November 24th after a meeting with the city to discuss reasons why the additional funds were being requested. The amount of those funds total $76,500. The additional funding For construction would be the city match. That's the 20% of the total construction estimate. That number that I calculated was $360,000. So the additional cost to the city would be the additional engineering funds of $76,500 plus $360, plus a contingency that Laura Lee's calculating to present. As Laura Lee stated, the project's been on hold since the last round of comments were received from TDOT. Once approved, the project will move forward. We will address the comments, resubmit to TDOT, seek final approved plans, a notice to proceed to construction. Once we have that document in hand for notice to proceed to construction, we can advertise the project for bidding and proceed with the bidding process. As part of the additional engineering fees, we've requested funds for bidding assistance, so we will help the city through that process, get the project awarded and into construction.
But now, do we have the time extension, or is that something we still have to request?
We still have to request it.
Yep.
So if we don't get the time extension, when's the date that has to be completed?
July.
Is that feasible?
No.
No, not this year.
We can get to bidding maybe by then.
But in reality, the time extension, you would think the state would be more than willing to give us a time extension, since over 2 years of it was hindered because of what they did.
You can't tell them that, but yes.
Correct, yes.
Well, I understand that, but I'm just saying that over 2 years of this project was held up because of what the state wanted. It wasn't their fault, it was what the state wanted. But anyway, I would hope they would take it. I noticed in the letter that is being noted in the letter we're supposed to send them, I think, something along that line.
Yes.
This is just what I'm wondering is this. If we move forward with this project, we get the time extension, the city decides to move forward with this project, and the bid comes in way over what we thought was going to come in. Would there be any possibility to go back and ask the state for even more grant at that time?
Yes, I believe so. You
Okay.
reject that bid, present it to the state, seek additional funding, and rebid.
So at that point, either they would give us additional funding or we walk away if we couldn't afford to do it. So that'd be what our option would be at that point.
The state will actually not approve it if it's way over
That's
what
correct.
estimate.
10%. Has to be within 5
If it
or
goes over
10% of
10%,
the
they won't
estimate.
approve it anyway.
Correct,
Okay. Got that number?
yes. So 806, 380, 94 is what we are figuring are your total local funds for the whole project.
All right.
You have already paid $294,152.53. So your remaining that you have to spend in order for the project to move forward is $512,228.41.
That's the number I was looking for.
That minus the 76.
So that's the 76 plus the 20% of construction funding plus the CEI administration fee.
Right,
CEI
so
phases.
this 806 includes everything, right? The 294 is what's already been paid. We've been on hold, nothing's been pending except for these other funds in order to, one, pay fees since 2019, two, the $7,000 to move forward, and then the bidding and everything that's already in this. So when we subtract out what you've already paid to date, not the pending fees that you guys have to approve, but then that's where you get the 512.
And that includes all the numbers that both of y'all's talking about.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So we're going to come back here next month and need $700,000. We need $512,228.41 approved by the board, and also approve the letter to send for an extension in order to move forward. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, yes, you'll have to be comfortable with what that number is. What we need you guys to approve is is the additional engineering fees and the extension request to TDOT that they will do in conjunction with the combination of the funds.
Right.
And then on Tuesday, we need you guys to authorize the mayor to, once we get that amendment, once that comes in, he can sign it. We don't have to wait for it to come back to the board
Well,
again.
y'all can write all that out and take care of it, what you need, but bottom line is this. Our board is gonna have to decide now, are we gonna spend this $512,228, or are we just gonna kill this thing graveyard dead? That's what we gotta decide, because we can ask for extensions, we can approve additional funding, but at the end of the day, if the board is not willing to come up with $512,228.41, it's a dead issue. So the board is going to have to do, by Tuesday night, really, the board is going to need to know if we're willing to go to the end with this thing or turn around and walk off from it. That's why I wanted this number, because we can't just keep going and approving here, a little there. We need to know at the end of the day what are we going to end up spending. Now, the flip side of that is, if we walk away from it, there's two big downsides. We lose whatever we done put into it. That's gone. And if we walk away from it, after the state has already approved to roll over $600,000 back onto the project that we asked for, and we walk away from it, throw our hands up, say we're not going no further, I don't know that they'll ever deal with us again at all on this project. That's where we're going. That's the decision we got to make. You know, that's where we got to. That's where we got to end up at. But it is very attractive that we got $1.7 billion in grants on this project.
Absolutely.
That's very attractive.
It is.
They've worked with us throughout this project.
Yeah.
Currently, we're operating, we were supposed to have the notice to proceed to
Right.
construction in, what was that, 2019?
2019, but
Yeah.
TDOT, the local programs people are very helpful, and they say we want to build
Right.
projects, shovels in the ground, but the process to get there is long and arduous, as you know.
I just want our board to know that if we approve what it is we need to approve Tuesday night, we're pretty well saying that we're going to go with this. We're going to spend the rest of the money to finish this up. That's what we're going to be saying, because if we was not willing to spend this much money to finish it up, there's no point in approving anything Tuesday night. It's a dead deal. It's a dead issue. You know, I'm going to have a hard time walking away from this project, even at this cost right here, for three reasons really. Number one is the funding we've already put into it. Number two is the fact the state has already allowed us to have over $600,000 to roll back onto this project. They didn't have to do that. And they've done that. So I think with them at 1.7 and that they're not going to approve any bid over 10%, we could have been in worse shape on this. This $500,000 right here could have been over $1 million. It would have been over $1 million if they hadn't allowed that 600-something thousand to roll back. So I just wanted the board to be clear that if we approve these things Tuesday night, we better be ready to finish this thing out and turn loose of $500,000. I just want it clear.
Yeah.
That's the reason I wanted that bottom line number. And I appreciate it.
And that, I mean, that's the best we can do right now, because like you said, until we go to bid, we don't know.
The way steel is right now, there's no telling what will happen.
Price of steel escalates every day, so.
No telling what will happen. The way steel is right now, we don't have any idea what will happen.
Kevin will have to update the cost estimate at least probably one more time with that next submission.
And
I imagine.
No, this one, I'm going to go with this one. And, you know, I talked to the steel bridge vendor in November. So that it is what it is. It's 3 months old. But, yeah, the longer we wait, I'll have to update that number maybe 6 months out. So if we don't get to bid within 6 months, I might ask for another number for that particular item, because it's going to be the critical path item for the project.
I understand final numbers. I understand what you're talking about here, but all this other numbers you're throwing around here, I'm not a CPA. I just want to know the projected final bottom line number that the city of Fayetteville, it's going to change some. This is going to change some more likely before we get to the end. This is where we're at right now to make a decision Tuesday night, in my opinion.
Any other
The
questions?
order of magnitude shouldn't change. Like that's a good number.
Yeah, that's kind of my opinion is, but we need to know also that this isn't the final price that we're gonna owe. I mean, there's gonna be changes. There's gonna be probably additional fees from barge. And, so it's just gonna happen. So it's the 512 plus what might come along the way.
We're not expecting that. I did include a portion of work that needs to occur at the end of the project. That's to complete the letter of map revision. That would require an as-built survey and some final coordination with FEMA to get that done. But I tried to capture everything that I could to put it into this amendment so that you would not receive any future contract amendments from us.
Well, we're not holding you to that, but we're going to remember you said this is what you expected. If it doesn't come through, you buy us a steak.
Yes, sir. I would have said it if I wasn't confident.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. I'm big against the law. You can't do that. Anyway,
The board good for carrying this forward to Tuesday?
Yes.
I think I understand where we're at now. To me, as you continue to put these kind of numbers out, if they changed, for my sake, at least somewhere, put a bottom line projection on what we're going to write a check for. That helps me a whole lot, really does.
Thank you both for coming.
Thank you.
We'll go to our department reports. Public Works, Mr. Eddie Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. The first two items here, I'm going to turn over to Patrick. He's wrote both of these proposals for you all.
No, we want you to do.
Well, I can. The drainage,
That's fine, we understand.
he might answer you technical questions better than I could.
We're going to talk about Dunroman lane proposal. Based on our meeting we had late this Monday, I'll just put together a proposal to address the drainage issue on the south side of Dunroman Lane between two. I don't have the proposal in front of me, but it's right there in front of the gentleman's property. Well, it's about 500.
Mr. Davidson.
Yeah, there's about 500 feet that water comes down on the shoulder there and just comes rushing down and creates a drainage kind of erosion issue there. So this proposal involves surveying that 500-foot strip, collecting everything from right-of-way to right-of-way, and coming up with some kind of a design to capture that water, probably with some curb and gutter and a couple flumes to control that where that water discharges, where it's not coming down to one spot, and hopefully dissipate some of that along that 500 feet. That's what that proposal is for.
And that's for $8,650.
Yeah, that includes surveying and design. Yes, sir.
We could carry that forward Tuesday.
I am.
And the next is, and this will be mentioned in finance about the proposed traffic light, Liberty Road.
Yes, sir. We, based on our preliminary design, which we have, and numbers we've seen on signals around Huntsville area and this part of town, that we were, as far as putting together a ballpark number of what it would cost for construction. This is materials, but this is for the full thing. You might as well plan on about $350,000.
Just for material?
No. That's material and construction. The full thing.
Yeah.
That's with mast arms. Of course, you could probably save a little bit doing span wire. Maybe $50,000 reduction in that. But this is with you probably use cameras as opposed to induction loops, which a little bit more, but saving maintenance costs. But as far as budget numbers, $350,000. And confirm that with FPU. That's the kind of numbers they're seeing these days for that kind of signal.
Now, we talked about this in Public Works because this is where it started at. And then we went to finance. And I think we came to the conclusion that right now this is just too much to move forward. 8 years ago, I'm thinking it's about 8 years ago, we put in the one in front of Goodman. And of course, it's a 4-lane highway and had a turn lane, I think, going into we spent $120,000 total. course, now the state paid for that because we had some funds available from the state, but it's about $120,000 total. So now we're looking at an estimate of $350,000. And we only had 90-something set aside to start this project if we went with it. And I think consensus has been through the two committees that it would be better. The plans that you've already done on it can be saved.
Yes, sir.
And come back to later.
Yes, sir.
And you wouldn't have to do them over. So we've invested in a few plans up front, but we asked for Croy to give us an estimated ballpark figure, pretty close figure, before we got too deep into this and spent a lot of money on engineering, which they've done that. And this number right here, we felt like in our committee, and also I think within the finance, that right now this is just too high. Maybe we can come back to this when metal goes down and, you know, all the cost goes down. Start that study back up maybe. Part of it's already paid for, a little of it. So that was our consensus coming out of these two committees. Just put this on a shelf and maybe things will get settled out here in a year or two and we come back to it.
Board okay with that?
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Maybe something we add to strategic planning
Yeah.
to discuss in depth and down the road for sure.
Just start putting a little back forward at a time. Yeah.
Anything else?
Yes, sir, I guess you noticed you don't have my report this month. Our system that we record all the tickets in is down. And Zach is working on that, and quick as it gets up, I'll get it to you.
How are we doing on all the street signs that came in?
We're waiting, we still got a few left put up. We're waiting on the brackets to hang them on, and that'll be complete. The wayward signs that blew over, the company's back in town redoing those.
Reset.
What are they doing to make them stand up, Eddie? What are they doing to make them stand up?
You talking about those signs?
Yeah.
They're pouring a 54-inch square pad about 30 inches deep.
Yeah.
See,
Instead of just,
good
yeah.
this time where it won't happen again.
Yeah.
It would have been fine last time if they'd done it like they're supposed to.
I got you.
Yeah. Two of them went down, didn't they?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. That was way too heavy a sign to have a little bit of concrete on the bottom of
It
it.
didn't have a ball of concrete on it big as a soccer ball.
Yeah. That's never going to.
Any questions, Mr. Parker?
Now, we have one more thing that I'll just mention, and we didn't bring this to any committee or anything because we have a set rate that we pay for lights, you know, FPU. And I had mentioned that how dark it is turning in on Lynn Drive down there, even though there's a traffic light, 30, 40 feet up a street.
There's about 100 foot one way and 150 the other way.
Okay, that far? And I tell you, at night down there, you can't hardly see that Lynn Drive to turn in off that highway. So we've been working through our committee to get a pole and light set there. It really wouldn't hurt to have a sign there pointing towards Stonebridge Park or something. It goes, people coming in here not from here, it's hard to find it coming off that highway. It really is. So we need to spruce that up a little bit and make it more convenient for people to find. And do you have any update on the chain link fencing we put around the parking lot?
I know the material has come in.
Okay.
He's got it ordered in, and when he's going to put it up, I don't know.
Okay.
One other thing, Copperwell has two buildings out on East Park Drive, one across the road from each other. And they've asked me if I'd put up a pedestrian crossing signs. That's all they want, just so that the trucks and stuff coming through there maybe will pay attention because they have a lot of foot traffic from one building to the other.
Yeah.
And
I'll tell you where you get the signs, we'll have to buy them.
I think I got some.
Have you? Nobody's using them down there behind the old government plant no more. You know, they should be took up probably, really. Are you not gonna stripe it too? You're just gonna put signs up?
Just gonna put signs up. They've agreed to that so far. Now, it may come to a point if the signs don't work for them, we may have to go back and do
So we're
something.
allowed to put the signs up without putting the striping?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any questions, Mr. Parker?
I'd just like to say the overhead street signs look so good. They're big, people can see them, they're, you know, out-of-towners and tourists. I think it just makes it so much easier for them, and it looks very well. Thank you.
They've done a great job putting them up. They got them looking good.
Thank you for you. Thank you, sir. We go to police, Mr. Casillas.
I have 5 events permits that need to be submitted. It's going to be the Fayetteville First Friday event permit, Riverside Christian Academy Spring Formal event, Slawburger Chase is going to be the 5K and 10K, Slawburger Festival, and the Firecracker Chase.
Board good with carrying all these?
I'm good with it, but there has been some discussions been going on for years and years and years and years and years. All of this stresses our police department out. And probably fire department too, I don't know, but I mean, it just takes everything they've got to do these intersections and all.
Yeah, we've been utilizing the Fayetteville Fire and Public Works as well in some of our events because it does stretch us out. We don't have enough manpower.
So we just need to continue to be aware of that. You know, there can be some overtime pay here on this, but I mean, we just always allowed it. I'm just saying, you know, it kind of makes it kind of hard on them.
Someone had mentioned at one time about some volunteers from these groups as well. Has that been looked at? Are they adding people to that anyway?
Yes, they have been using volunteers as well, but it still takes all over a minute on some of the events to get all the traffic, you know.
As volunteers go, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they probably have to be careful where they use volunteers because they don't want volunteers directing traffic.
They don't, far as direct traffic, they're telling directions where to go.
Right.
So we don't have to do that.
Yeah, so.
I think they know that role.
Any other
I'm good
questions?
with it.
Any other thing, anything else up there?
We're just going through, trying to go through the process of the fire damage, and I'm not gonna say we're getting close, but we're ordering as we go what we need to get, you know, back in order to be fully functional. We're getting some minor things fixed around the place, just regular housekeeping, you know, plugs and lighting that needs to be replaced and fixed. That's about all we've been doing. We've been trying to work through it. IT's been trying to help us out so we can start getting back on some of our computers. So we're trying. We're still, you know, in that direction of working through this.
Any questions, Mr. Casillas? Thank you, sir.
Right, thank you.
We'll go to fire, Chief Kimbrough.
Good morning. I just want to give you an update on Engine 2. I got an email Tuesday that the parts will be in today, and then they will get started back on that project, and they said it should move pretty steadily once they get that part in and the motor up and going. Also want to give you an update on Engine 1. I had to order a DEF system for it. It went out, so the truck's temporarily down. And then there's also a crack in the body of the truck. We will get that fixed. The body, it's under warranty. The body people are come in and give us an estimate and stuff on that. They're still working on that. I'll let you know on that just as soon as I know something for sure. We are going to try to wait and take that and have that fixed once Engine 2 comes back, so we won't be completely down of that. Hose dryer's in, up, operational. Everything's good with it. And we've delayed the spring inspections. We were going to start them Monday, the 31st. Since COVID and everything, we're just kind of letting numbers level out for it, and that's in and out of all the businesses and stuff. We're just kind of waiting until that kind of settles down, and we'll go from there. And that's my report.
Any questions, Mr. Kimbrough?
Now, we did hear through some committee meetings and finance meetings that you've been able to hold your overtime down pretty good.
Trying to hold it down the best we can. COVID's kind of got us running it up just a little bit, but we're trying to hold it down the best we can.
It's not $100,000, is it?
No, I hope not.
We've seen that before.
That's right.
Huge improvement. It's much appreciated.
Much improved. That's right.
We'll go to Parks and Recreation. Mr. Brian Carter.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We're going to seal bids in for S.J. King Park. Our electrical repairs for that is $11,700. To replace the roof at our pool, we're looking at $43,000 and $638. And Don Davidson Park, the water-based drainage pipe is $26,800.
All these came through finance. We did approve those to come forward. I guess we'll take these one at a time. Everybody okay taking them forward? Number 1, S.J. King Electrical Repairs.
That's right.
Number 2, with the roof. We determined that nobody knows how the roof is. It's in horrible shape.
Correct.
Everybody good taking that forward? And then Don Davidson, that we have to do that drain pipe. And that bid's not going to get any cheaper, so.
No.
I think most of these bids are good for 30 days
Yes,
at the moment.
yes.
Everybody good carrying that forward?
So that's still, that bid is good, right? The 26.8 is good?
Yes, it is, yes.
Okay, that's the one, if you remember, that's the one I'm almost certain that had been bid before, at about that amount, really, 20-something thousand. And it was a single bid came in on it, but the time ran out on it. It had to be rebid, right?
Correct.
So when it was rebid, this bid came in at 26.8, which it didn't cost us anything because that's about what the other was going to be.
Right.
The other bid came in at like 48,000
48,000.
from the same company that had
Same
bid 20
company,
stuff
yes.
before.
Was that, actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was a different
It's a
company.
different one.
Yes, it was a different company.
Okay, but anyway, we didn't lose anything, I guess you'd say, by getting put off for a while.
Right, we were kind of lucky on that one.
Okay, all right.
Mr. Carter, you did mention it was corrugated plastic. Is that going to be strong enough because of the water and the?
Yes, it will.
Drain there.
Yeah, and that, actually, I had one of my maintenance people he was there also, and we took a look at that. He suggested it, and actually the person who was doing the bidding, they suggested it also. So I think it'll be stronger. It's going to last us for a little bit longer, and I think we'll be fine with it. Okay.
And the other material was what?
Metal. And you also, actually, there were 3 types of pipes that could have gone in there. You could have gone with metal, you could have gone with PVC, and you could have gone with corrugated pipe. The PVC was a lot more expensive. And the thing about the PVC pipe is when you seal those, it won't seal as well as the corrugated pipe, so you would still have leaks. And the metal, actually, that was what was out there, and it caved in on us. It had huge gaps and holes in it. So we think we'll be fine with the corrugated. And I think that since it is corrugated, it will loop together and they will have locking rings around it, so it will prevent it from leaking in the joints.
That's some type of plastic, isn't it?
Yes, it is plastic. It is plastic
I
corrugated.
think that's the same thing as I believe that's the same thing that we used in police department drainage. I believe it is. It's what we used in the police department drainage.
Okay.
Is that like the black pipe you use for like septic and all that type of stuff?
Yes, yes, 24 inches.
Yeah.
And that was, I think the last time also when it was bid, it was 18 inches and it was a little bit smaller. And we went out and measured it and it was 24 inches. So it's a pretty big pipe.
Okay. So the next thing, you have fireworks, Independence Day activities. We had discussion last week at the mid-year budget review. I mean, I think we agreed we want to have it. We just want to make sure that the cost control is contained and get it back down to where, because it's in the budget. In the past, it was under the tourism funds. Now it's in the budget. So, are you asking the board whether you want for you to go forward with planning it?
Yes, actually, because this wasn't under Parks and Recs, I think last year when we actually had done this.
Last year in the situation we had, the city administrator kind of took the lead and
Right.
on it. But I think, excuse me, Chief, I mean, wasn't the intention for Parks and Rec to be in charge of the event? Yeah.
That's not what happened.
Right.
Right. And I think the discussion that we want to have is, I think there were a lot of bouncy houses and there were other events that were going on at that particular time. We wanted to know if we wanted to just have the fireworks or all the other events that were going on.
My opinion is we started too early today. I've gone that thing every year that they've had it, and the majority of people run in about 6 o'clock. You know, you got daylight savings time, so it's going to get dark till 7:30 or 8. So most people are running in at the last minute, so we were expending resources for several hours with minimal people there.
Correct.
And so I would prefer to kind of cut back on, I mean, I think we should have the food vendors and some minimal activity. But since it's a park,
I mean, there's plenty of things for people to come and do while they're away, but most kind of come, some people come in just sit on the bypass, park on the bypass and watch it. Some go to the high school and watch it in the parking lot. But the majority of people come to the park, they come in there about 6:30. So I don't think we need to start activities at 12 in the afternoon.
Okay.
Because it's normally 85, 90 degrees that day anyway.
Okay, so we're thinking of a more condensed or more smaller
Yeah,
event
focus on the fireworks.
on the fireworks, okay?
But that's my opinion. The board may disagree.
Well,
I
we're trying not
agree.
to have the whole city set of employees out there to create all the overtime that took place within it as well.
Okay.
But we had hoped that maybe some private businesses might want to help sponsor that because they did to begin with.
Okay.
When this started, there's a lot of private businesses that contributed to this because they knew it was going to bring in tax revenue.
Right.
Business, tax revenue for us, business for them. So it might not hurt to survey area businesses up front early.
Okay.
And just see if they'd be willing to sponsor part of it. That would help quite a bit.
Okay.
Make it more of a community type event.
Okay.
It's just,
To set a limit of how much is to be spent on this fireworks show?
I think it should be a
Already
framework.
budgeted. How much was budgeted from the beginning?
22,000 altogether. We have a 20,000 for fireworks, 2,000 typically for events, but we do also have a $4,000 credit from last year's show. So we need to know if we want a $24,000 fireworks show or the same $20,000 fireworks show that ultimately cost us 16 this year.
I saw $39,000 figure somewhere.
That's the total event that happened last year.
Okay.
But now, when it started, it was around 20.
But what is in the budget this year is 22,000.
Let's see.
But it-
But under previous
But it got up to 39 last year, right?
Yeah, that's what we stated last week.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, the former director and a former alderman worked really hard to get business sponsorships, and that worked out pretty well. But the overall budget was about 20 in the beginning, and that worked
Maybe-
out about right.
Maybe we
But,
just,
but at the time, we had like kind of a nonprofit doing the events,
Yeah.
and that person's not doing events anymore.
maybe we need to set a budget amount on it and do what we can do within that budget. And then if area businesses wants to chip in some, then make it bigger if they want to. Maybe we just need to set a budget amount. What did you say set right now?
22 for fireworks and everything.
And we got 4,000.
$4,000 credit. So altogether, you've got 26,000 for the entire.
I'd just go with that. I wouldn't go any more than that.
I think we need to work within.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
26,000.
That'd give you something to work off of.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
they give you a number to work off of.
Okay.
And that's with the city part. And anybody else you can get to chip in, good.
It's bonus.
And you're working on ball league signups right now.
Yes, we are. Yes.
Baseball, softball, and then you and I had a discussion the other day, soccer may be towards the summer months.
Toward the summer, we're looking at June and July for the main months for those.
Because of the city schools
right.
and the county schools they play spring soccer. So
Correct.
then they come back in the fall, so. Okay. Any other questions of Mr. Carter? Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
We go to planning codes with Ms. Christy Gentry.
Thank you, Mayor. The only agenda item that we have this month is the 2021 Planning Commission Annual Report. This is a document that we bring this time each year, and it highlights month by month what the Planning Commission projects reviewed and either approved or moved up to the Board of Mayor and Aldermen. It also lists our goals for the year, which we've already began working on revising the sign ordinance. So, and then it lists the members and their tenures.
Yeah, we need to have, we've typically approved this the last couple of years. So,
What's going on with doing the sign deal over? What's going on with that? The sign, what are you doing with the signs?
The sign ordinance, we
Yeah.
had our first meeting with Ms. Sharon
I
Armstrong.
mean, what kind of changes you looking at?
We're just looking at the whole document and going through. She's going over some state statutes that's been,
Okay.
that's changed, and ours is kind of outdated in some of those things. And she's explaining, we're getting our continuing ed hours from that, and then she's
Sure.
recommended
I think
changes.
clear language is one of the things she stated, plainer language in the document. we talked about commercial versus residential. There was nothing really to separated those two. I mean, in the work session we had last week. So we're trying to simplify it. I mean, since it was passed, there's been a couple of cases that have hit some state Supreme Courts that have prevented us to enforce a couple of things locally that have gone to in front of our city courts. So
Yes, sir.
we're just trying to make it the best document can be. Still have the original intent of not having sign pollution and Safety issues is a big thing, so.
And just changes in lighting and technology that's came about, and adding some pictures and charts, and there's one of her goals too.
Some examples. Is board good carrying this forward to you?
I am.
We will have our next sign ordinance work session 1 hour prior to our February Planning Commission meeting on February the 22nd from 4 to 5 p.m. And I just wanted to add, I know Mr. Plunkett was talking about they're reinstalling the wayfinding signs. Our building inspector is going out and inspecting the holes for each one before they pour the concrete. And we're getting pictures, so we're making sure that they are done correctly this time.
So they're doing all of that. That's not costing us nothing.
It's not costing us anything, no, sir.
Any other questions of Ms. Gentry?
Thank you.
We'll go to IT. Who's that?
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
No items for the agenda this month, but I do have some updates for the fire alarm install and our Spectrum cable situation.
You have to remove your mask or nobody on the table here.
ADT, they gave us a date of February 7th is when they were going to show up, and last week one of their crew members came by to do a walkthrough of the building to see what to expect. And when they were down in the garage, they noticed the spray-on insulation that was up in the ceiling area. And he mentioned that it might affect something. He wasn't sure, but last night at 5 o'clock, we got an email from their account manager, Omar, and he said that, well, let me actually just read what he said. He said, my operations manager wanted to take a look at the parking garage because the spray-on insulation may alter the way that we hang the conduit. Sorry for the delay. So, as of right now, I don't know if they're going to make that February 7th date or not. I asked them.
Okay.
Spectrum Cable, I received an email from them on the 21st of January. They said they had completed a design and costing survey to figure out what was needed to get the service at the buildings. And in their email, he said the feedback provided identified additional network overbuild that was needed at their primary Manchester hub and the local nodes in Fayetteville, which will break out to our buildings. Given the scope of the advised infrastructure upgrade, we may be looking at a more extensive timelines, typically in the order of around 90 days, after which they would begin install at the buildings. So we're looking at 3 months before cable as of right now.
That's strange. I mean, everybody else had to flip over count theirs, so.
I assume there was more money in hooking everybody else up than us.
I don't know. We paid a decent penny for this, so. Yeah, go ahead.
And as far as things that are actually moving forward, I've got the green light to order all the replacement hardware over at the police department, and we've gotten half of it in already. I'm just waiting on the CPUs. They should be in next week, after which I'll start putting those in. The only thing left would be the monitors, but I can find some spare monitors to get them going until the new monitors come in. So I'd say within 2 weeks, everyone should have their computers back and operating normally, computer-wise.
Okay. Any questions, Suzanne? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
We go to finance, Ms. Roselle.
All right. First thing we have is the first two items actually are brought us invoices for the safe house for the school system. These
They're standard every month. They're no cost to us. We just have to approve them. They have to go through our board.
Board okay carrying those forward?
And the third item is another invoice for the architects for the dome project.
Same thing. Everybody good? All right.
All right, then we have a budget amendment for the city, and these are exactly the items that the board voted to approve last month. We just try to go ahead and amend the budget as these items are approved. It's a total of $108,830.
Everybody good? Take that forward. And last, you have the budget calendar.
And last is the budget calendar that was presented to y'all last week at the budget work session. It's always gone through the board for approval. So as long as everybody's checked those dates and are good with those.
For those of us here, does anybody have any conflict with the April 14th or 21st as far as work session at the moment?
I'm gonna check mine again. I did not check on those, so.
Like I said, just, if anybody has a conflict, let Ms. Roselle know as soon as you can so we can.
And we have had in the past where things come up and we have had to shift those dates at the last minute, but.
Well, we pretty much like to get them done in April so that we can call at the May 10th meeting to call for the public hearing so that we can get everything approved in June.
That is correct.
So, any questions, Ms. Roselle? Thank you. We go to administration, Mr. Howell.
A limited update, but also have a request. CEO Brett Dye and myself met with representatives from Moscow Lighting yesterday in his office. The good news, I feel like for 28 poles and 148 lights, it's probably going to cost us just a little over $700,000. But the request I have is asking the board to move this to Tuesday night, and hopefully by Monday evening, we're going to have a quote on all the materials for this. And Tuesday night, Brett and I both can present that quote to you and see where the board would like to go. But up front, what it sounded to me yesterday is going to be just a little under $700,000 for the poles and lights. Of course, that's not set. FPU would have to set the poles. And we still have the electrical side of it to deal with at Don Davidson. But if y'all recall, under the TVA quote, it was like 1.1 million. We're looking at about a little over $700,000, I do believe. There were some adjustments he had to go back and make. That's the reason we're going to get it moved.
Would there be, did they mention anything about the warranty of years on that?
25 years. 25 years. That will also be within inside the quote. That, and when we're talking about the poles itself, we're talking about the base, the pole sets on, the lights, fixtures, everything, except for electrical. Again, we still waiting on high electrical.
So on the funding side, I believe that we understand it just doesn't have anything to do with our fund balance. We've got federal funds for this.
Correct. Correct.
No city of Fayetteville taxpayer money involved in this.
No, sir.
Federal funds.
No, sir.
If the board agrees to use it for that.
True. And we have some other options with FPU, and FPU is more than willing to help us with costs with this as well.
Did they give a lead time on how long it may take to get materials?
If we, here within a reasonable amount of time, we can probably have all that material delivered here on site in 8 weeks. Coming out of, I think it was Illinois is where they're made at, but lead time is right now approximately 8 weeks.
But if I understand this right, we should have enough information by Tuesday night to be able to move on this.
We should, yes, sir, for the poles. Now, Hyde Electrical, I'm still waiting. There was a delay with Hyde Electrical or engineering. The delay was them trying to make contact with the state inspector. That was about a week out, that delayed them. But they have been in contact. I'm suspecting we're still 4 weeks out waiting to get that, so we can go to bid on electrical.
So is this is a lower number of poles than what we have now, right?
I believe it is. It's 28 total poles, 148 fixtures. But I believe we was looking yesterday, and by the paper I was looking at yesterday, I believe we're going to be...
They was going to reposition some of the poles.
Yes, to do 2 fields.
And the new lighting would cover more, so that reduced the cost. So
yes, sir.
I think we just, I think the main emphasis, if the board approves it, that is to understand on the funding side that this is federal dollars.
Yes, it is. And again, and hopefully if things work out, we should have that quote in our hands Monday.
Okay.
Board could have taken us.
Yeah.
I have a question on this now. Is this, when you say it's a quote, is this the bid? Is this a job that we had to bid out?
No, it's not gonna be. It depends on what this board wants to do. Again, I wasn't gonna go into that depth. I was gonna wait to Tuesday night, but we have an option. FPU can order this for us and put it on their site, and they can buy it through that quote, through, Sourcewell, which we could do the same, but problem with us ordering, and I told Brett yesterday, it cuts a lot of red tape if they do it, because they have to unload and load it. If they send it to their site, it's a lot easier if we go through them and allow them to do it, and they're willing to do it.
Okay, so that's through FPU.
But it would be purchased through Sourcewell.
I just wanted to make sure it wasn't something that we had to bid out.
You have the option, but Sourcewell is very similar to state contract. You can just buy it off of it, and it makes it a lot simpler.
Very good, we'll take that forward. Anything else that you had to report? Chief, anything else you had to report?
That's it.
All right, we'll go under Mr. John Hill. We had last month approved for a public hearing on, well, we say de-annexation, you like to use the word contraction. I think you stated in a recent email that contraction's a better word. There's more.
It's what the statute
uses.
So
on Malino Road and Kid Lane properties, but we've had a little situation come up.
yeah, we've had a glitch that I want to apprise the board of, and I guess I have a recommendation here. Of course, we called for a public hearing at the last meeting, and the statute requires us to send notices to the property owners of the public hearing and then run an ad in the Elk Valley Times, both which Ms. Gentry did. So when we kind of started this process, I had compiled a list of the names and addresses of the various property owners of the properties that we were looking at. So we were working on this just a couple days ago, putting together what we anticipated to do next Tuesday, and we excuse me, we found out that one of the properties the owners have sold a piece of their, not the whole tract, but a piece of their tract to somebody else in the time frame between when I put the list of property owners together and when the notices went out to the newspaper. So effectively, we not only have a new owner, but we also have a new parcel number, because when they broke part of that off, of course, they had to give it a new parcel number. So when we ran an ad in the Elk Valley Times listing the parcel numbers that we were talking about, we didn't have this new parcel number listed in it. So I think to be prudent, my recommendation is, I'd say we go forward with the public hearing that we've already called, see, take whatever feedback we get from the public on this, but I would recommend that we call a second public hearing in March on the new parcel and re-advertise that. And then if the board does want to move forward with contracting or de-annexing, that we do that one time in the March meeting, rather than trying to do it piecemeal over the two meetings.
My concern a little bit with that is, would it be better to go ahead and call for a public hearing sooner than March and just have a special call meeting?
We could do that.
Because what if they keep selling parcels off?
And I've certainly thought about that. So
they might keep selling parcels off if we don't get this thing done.
obviously, there's active marketing of the property in that area, because most of the property owners that are there now have fairly recently acquired their property. So that's certainly
People don't want to
something.
know if they keep selling parcels off.
Something to think
It
about.
seemed like to me it would be prudent for us. I mean, I hate to keep having these special meetings, but this could, if they keep selling parcels off, we could go from month to month to month to month. Maybe if we could get the advertising done and meet the state laws on advertising, turn around and have a special call meeting for a public hearing, and then act on it then, Can we do that?
I think so.
What do y'all think about that? Because we could end up here going all summer long with people, they keep selling parcels off, you know.
You won't be able to do that because they'll leave that one parcel out there on the island by itself. It's supposed to touch the city limits.
Well, we wouldn't actually be, what I'm proposing, we wouldn't actually act on de-annexing anything until we've had 2 public hearings.
Okay, I understand that.
So I'm just asking.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And as I said, it complicated matters because they split a piece of property. If it was, if they just sold a full piece of property, at least we would be able to say, well, you know, we had it in the newspaper that tract number was under consideration.
Right. Yeah. Well, what's your thoughts on that?
I mean, Christie may have some input on how much time we need to get the newspaper notice done.
I don't know if it has to be so many days.
I don't think there's anything in the statute that sets it.
You know what I'm talking.
So you're so, if I hear you're asking to not only call for a public hearing the same day as a special call meeting.
Right.
Like if you have this one Tuesday, but then the board would call on Tuesday night or whatever date we set for the special call, have the public hearing just right before it. And that way it takes care of it. You don't have to wait
2 weeks
till March.
out. I mean, if we set a public hearing at a special meeting, maybe 2 weeks from Tuesday's meeting, at least that, you know, cuts down.
Well, I brought that up because it kind of concerns me if we wait a month every time. If it keeps selling parcels off, we're going to miss it. We got to hit somewhere where everybody gets notified.
No.
But I'm just throwing that out there. I'll do whatever the rest of the board wants to do. Just whatever.
But the way you're proposing is all within 1 month, like it's 2 weeks between each public hearing. Am I hearing that?
Well, I'd say let's move forward with our public hearing this week. I mean, one, it's been called, so I don't know how we would effectively notify the public that we were going to postpone that if that were the thought. So
And then Tuesday vote for if the board can all agree on a date between now and Tuesday. At Tuesday night's meeting, call for public hearing, and then call for a special call meeting on said date, 2 weeks. And then the way you'd have your 2 public hearings in 1 month, and you'd have your special call right after, and get it all done before March.
Yeah. And of course, you know, at the special call meeting, we could notice the special call meeting to not only have the public hearing, but also to potentially vote.
Yeah. All in the same meeting. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I cut down on,
That's fine. It's okay with the board.
That's good with me.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, thank you, sir. Yesterday I had an email from Ms. Gentry, and she was notified by Eric Jones, who's kind of one of the people over the Dome project, and talked about something that we needed to do as a board as far as an advertisement. So recorded in the minutes, city minutes for a Dome project to move forward. Mr. Hill, are you working on something?
I put something together, and the reason I think we could have done that orally or ordinarily would have, but part of what Mr. Jones said we needed to make sure we got the project number with it, so I just thought it might be safer just go and knock something out on paper, and in case we forgot a month from now doing the minutes to put the project number on the minutes or something. So I've drafted something.
Sure.
It's on our minutes.
Is it on? Okay. It's pretty short to the point.
Yeah, if it's got the number in there. Is the board okay with this? Okay. And last thing, under the authority of the charter, I have the ability to make direct appointments to the Housing Authority, and I recently reappointed Charlie Cannon for one more term on the Housing Authority and notification to the board. Anybody have anything else?
So when will we vote on this?
We don't vote on that.
We don't have to do it, just notify.
Just notification of the board. All right, we'll adjourn this work session and we'll meet Tuesday night.